Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and today we're going to talk more about George Gascon. Is that his name? The LA District Attorney, who is basically not, because he's one of those George Soros supported type of DAs that are under the guise of criminal justice reform. They're basically not charging people and just letting criminals commit crimes, and then just letting them right out with no bail and not charge them with anything, which is causing crime to skyrocket in LA. And obviously all those wealthy people out there in LA, all those famous celebrities, they don't like that too much. And so there's a lot of support for recalling him, because if you just continue to let criminals commit crimes and then you don't lock them up, they're going to keep committing crimes until you stop them. And people are starting to realize that. So what's the latest update, SD?
In a February 5th, 2022 article, the Daily Mail reported, quote, hate crimes in U.S. skyrocketed 46% in 2021. New York City saw 96% spike. LA had 71% increase, and Asian Americans experienced 342% rise in the worst numbers this century.
It's not looking good, Kuang.
Damn.
California State University reveals
Carry all day, every day.
And New York, LA, and Chicago hit century highs in 2021, according to the study, end quote.
I don't think most people are going to come up and try to sucker punch you because you're pretty kind of big and intimidating.
He must be the biggest Asian person. When you go back to Taiwan to see your folks, everyone just looks up to you.
Yeah, it's like small human beings in Asia. It's
you're Taiwanese descent?
Yeah, I'm from Taiwan.
Do you still have family there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my parents are there now, and like almost all of my family is there. Yeah, if I grew up in Taiwan,
definitely talk about Taiwan.
If I grew up in Taiwan, I think I would be like 4 inches shorter. Like it just, I don't know, whatever they're eating.
Is it the diet?
We put all the good hormones in our food. The chicken has hormones. The beef has hormones.
I don't want to like
supersize our people.
Yeah, I don't want to go like I don't want to test my theory. It's just like I just feel like if I grew up there, I would just be like 4 inches shorter. It just I couldn't tell you why, but it just I don't know. I think it's something about
India's the same.
Yeah, just being in like a place where I don't know, people are taller, bigger. You just
it's the genetically engineered
reach
food.
Your like growth potential more. I don't know.
We went to India.
Everybody's like, hey, I got to do that too.
We took my 2-year-old to India, my wife and I at the time, and my son, who's 2, was next to another child there. They were about the same size, except my kid was maybe a little bit thicker looking. Yeah, the other kid was 4, and he was Indian. We were obviously in India, and I was just like, so literally, an American kid was twice the size of an Indian kid, and then I think obviously there's nutrition has a huge issue. I mean, those people don't have anything to eat there. Indian food in India is not the same thing as we get here in the U.S. In India, it's rice with some spicy sauce on it. Like here, we get the chicken and the lamb and all that other stuff, and a lot of people in India don't have that. So I would say nutrition is definitely a huge factor.
All right, Esty.
The rising crime is upsetting people in many of these cities. The latest example is in LA, where there's now a serious attempt to recall LA County District Attorney George Gascon. As the Daily Mail reported on February 11, 2022, campaign to recall woke LA DA George Gascon after soft on crime policies sparked surge in violence. Is backed by Democrat Hollywood donors, including George Clooney's producing partner. Key points in the article include George Gascon took over as District Attorney of Los Angeles in December 2020 and is now facing a campaign to have him recalled. Residents of the Californian city are angry at the soaring crime, which they say is a result of Gascon's lenient prosecuting policies. Among those who have donated to the campaign to recall Gascon are several high-profile Democrat donors, including George Clooney's producing partner. A real estate and media billionaire nominated by Joe Biden in November to be his ambassador to Norway is also among the campaign contributors. Gascon's team was dealt a further blow on Friday when the former chief of LAPD, who has known Gascon for 30 years and endorsed him, revoked his support. On February 22nd, Gascon seemed to backtrack on some of his soft on crime policies, with Yahoo News reporting. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon said in a statement Sunday night that the sentence of a transgender woman who pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl may have been too short. Gascon said that he was made aware after Hannah Tubbs' sentencing of extremely troubling statements she made about her case, the resolution of it, and the young girl that she harmed. On Monday morning, Fox News reported that Tubbs crowed over her light punishment and spoke of the victim in explicit terms in phone calls to her father, which were captured in jailhouse recordings. They're gonna stick me on probation, and it's gonna be dropped. It's gonna be done. I won't have to register, won't have to do nothing, Fox quoted Tubbs as saying in the taped recordings.
Wow, that's messed up.
Prosecutors say Tubbs was 2 weeks shy of her 18th birthday when she walked into the women's restroom of a Denny's restaurant in 2014, grabbed a 10-year-old girl by the throat, and locked her in a stall, court records show. Tubbs then shoved her hand down the girl's pants and sexually assaulted her. Prosecutors say stopping only after someone else entered the restroom. Tubbs, now 26, pleaded guilty to the assault and was sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile facility. Her criminal record includes another allegation of sexual abuse of a child. While for most people several years of jail time is adequate, it may not be for Miss Tubbs. Gascon said in the statement, quote, "If we knew about her disregard for the harm she caused, we would have handled this case differently," end quote.
Sure, you would have.
Meanwhile, the Daily Mail report on February 23rd, 2022 said more than 600 LA County prosecutors said they believe the controversial DA should be recalled, with one describing him as a failed experiment.
Yeah, so basically all the other LA the attorneys that work under him, he's basically the boss. Nobody that works under him has confidence in him and his abilities, because they see all these people just being let out in the street, and they're like, and they see what it's doing in the neighborhoods, because that tells the criminals it's okay, and then other criminals, literally from all over the world, go to LA because they know they can do these things and not get prosecuted.
So you have the police that are first off, the person's traumatized. The parents are trying to do the right thing, so they call the police, right? And I'm a parent, so let me tell you, I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, why call the police?
No.
The SOB's just going to get out anyway. Maybe I should just handle it myself, right? I mean, as a parent, what this is communicating is my child's going to get screwed up, right? It's going to affect them no matter what therapy the kid has. Like, this is going to that's going to damage this kid for the rest of their life, and they're going to get probation. You know, like what does that tell the parents? It says, you walk in the bathroom and someone's putting their hands on your kids, lock the door behind you and handle it.
I remember.
Don't call anybody. They'll figure it out.
You may have seen this, but I think it was in the 1990s. There was a guy that had molested, raped this young son of this guy, and just brutalized him. And I can't remember if he just molested him or he molested him and murdered him, or I think it was just he was molested. I think the kid lived. But as they finally caught this guy, and as they were bringing him back through the airport, the police officers were walking with him. His father was on a payphone, and it was all on video because the media was following this guy because what he had done was so heinous it had made the news. And you could see right on video, the father turns right around and pulls a gun and shoots the dude right in the head, and kills the guy that had abused his son. And then, so obviously that father got arrested and prosecuted, and the jury let him off.
Sometimes justice works.
Obviously, we're not saying go take the law into your own hands, but In that particular case, that father did, and the jury was sympathetic to him just because what the crime that this guy did was so heinous. They're like, somebody did that to my kid,
Life is about consequences.
Yeah.
And by the people who are supposed to be protecting the public not doing their job, they're creating a void.
Yep.
And life fills voids. And I
Yep.
can tell you as a parent, if I lived in California or LA, wherever this is, right, and that was the theme, I'd be like, that's discouraging. And it's voids tend to be filled by motivated parents, if that's what it calls for.
That's what's brought a lot of them out, because another interesting thing about that is all the Zoom calls that the kids are on during the lockdowns. The parents are at home and they're hearing the lessons that the teachers are teaching their kids. And so that's how like critical race theory and all that stuff came to the forefront, and people started talking about that, was the parents didn't like their kids being indoctrinated, and because they were saying things that get in the way of the relationship between the child and the parent. And it just pissed the parents off. And so they started like, what are you guys teaching our kids? And the school boards were like, God, screw you. We'll do whatever we want. And so parents started getting members of the school board members, so much heat on them. Some of them resigned. Some of them got thrown out of office. The parents ran and got elected to the school board because they're not going to tolerate their kids being taught these things, especially teaching white kids that they're oppressors and teaching people with darker skin that they're oppressed and they're victims. And a lot of African American families, people of color, their fathers are going down there and they're pissed off as hell. I don't want you teaching my child that they're disadvantaged because of the color of their skin. My kids are amazing. They're going to do amazing things with their life, and you're not going to teach this shit to my kids. And so they're getting a lot of pushback. And that's why, who was it? Youngkin got elected in, was it North
Virginia,
I think it was, because he ran on that. He's like, we're not going to allow this stuff to be, teaching, because what you're basically doing is the kids get along great. Anybody that's ever seen children play together, skin color is a non-issue. They're playing and having a good time. And parents are not going to tolerate with people teaching their children to hate each other. And that's basically what they're doing is this. It's that cultural Marxism infiltrating
They're just
the school
perpetuating
system.
racism.
Yeah, exactly. Under the guise of equity and justice. And so they're creating a problem where kids just were getting to know each other. Everybody makes friends and gets along. And then you got the teachers basically dividing the class, teaching people of color to hate white people, and white kids to feel like that they're oppressors and feel ashamed of themselves, and destroy their confidence and destroy how they view themselves. And that, parents, especially the mothers, ain't gonna tolerate that shit. And to me, as an American, seeing them going down there at these school boards and putting these fucking people in the school board in their place, I love seeing that. That's what America's about. When you find out the shit that's going on. And so that was one of the good things that came out of all the lockdowns and coronavirus things, that parents heard what they were being taught in the school system, and which is completely different than what they were taught. Back when we went to school, we looked up to the founding fathers. We were taught that they created the greatest country on earth, where this is the land of opportunity. You could be anything you wanted to be. Now the kids are basically being taught that all the founding fathers are racist.
Yeah.
And, the Constitution is an outdated document. We just need to get rid of it. It's like, Esty and I were talking last week in another segment about that. It's like, you keep propagandizing children, and you get 2 or 3 generations down the road, and the kids of tomorrow will have no allegiance to the Constitution or the ideals or Americanism. They won't even know what it is. All they will have been taught, oh yeah, the founding fathers are racist and the Constitution is an outdated document. So you propagandize several generations, then 40, 50, 60 years from now, it'll be easy to just completely eliminate the Constitution and have some other form of government the elite and the oligarchs want. Because they're the ones that are all working to use this stuff because they don't believe in the nation state. They believe in a global authority that's run by people like them, like we talked about.
You will own nothing and be happy.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
You'll have whatever the elites decide to give you.
Yep.
And you have no property, so you have no
Yep.
voice. Your voice doesn't matter. Get back in line.
And everything you have to rent, so you always have to work, and you'll probably
It's called
work.
slavery.
Yeah,
It's already been
exactly.
done.
Yeah, it's serfdom.
It didn't
It's like
pan
going
out
back
well.
to the Middle Ages where you had people that worked on the land, the serfs basically, that owned nothing, and they had to work themselves to the bone and struggle all through life, where the kings and the queens and the dukes and all the landowners got to live high in the hog.
At least indentured servants had something to look forward to. They were eventually going to work their way, pay their way off, you know. But this it's like going back to slavery.
Yeah, like there's, for example, like someone's like, oh, like, you know, like it was way better in like the 30s, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like it's a black guy. I'm like, me and you couldn't have gone to school with this person back in the 30s, and there's just stuff we don't think about, right? Like we tend to like take like one point of reference and like, oh, well, back then there was way more freedom, when there was way more like food, but there's also like all these diseases that you don't even how to think about, like
Illiteracy,
yeah,
the
right,
ability
and,
to advance yourself, prosperity.
yeah, and it's like just in general too, right? Like something I noticed a lot more recently is this, like, it's almost like people that live here, it's almost like this like hip thing to like almost hate America. It's like, I hate this country.
Yeah, or just be
Right?
miserable.
Like,
Yes,
like I hate
exactly.
this country, and like that's actually like, you know, I've heard the stereotype is like this, like the stereotype is just like this white girl who's never actually really like lived anywhere else. She's vacation, she hasn't lived there, and she was like, I hate this country. It's like, do you?
This is the best it's
call
ever
it,
been.
like-
Yeah, no. Do you realize like how much stuff that like how many things we take for granted here? That's like a luxury like somewhere else, you know, and like we don't even realize it. And then like that country that you're looking like that you're putting on a pedestal, like just try living there and seeing what it's like. There's a lot of stuff. First of all, that
Yeah,
wasn't
go
on
live
your
in
radar.
Cuba. Go live in Venezuela.
Yeah, or even in Europe, right? People are like, oh, like Europe, like go actually live in France.
It's actually
and then
really,
see what
really
it's like.
corrupt there too. The government's
Yeah.
really corrupt there as well. Money
Yeah.
cuts a lot. Money cuts a lot of ties. It's the same thing. I think it should globally.
Yeah, it's crazy to me, like when people say like I hate this country, I hate living here. It's like objectively, just like just objectively, it's
More
That's a
people are
great
trying to get in
indicator.
the United States than any other country in the rest of the world, even though our children are being taught that America sucks. And
So that's a
it's racist
great
country
measurement
that should be
system. So if
destroyed.
everyone's
We should
moving-
adopt
yeah.
communism and socialism.
Maybe we should let all the people from Mexico know, hey, by the way, you're going to a country where it sucks, so you don't have to try. Just go back to wherever it was you came from. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But it's almost as if there's a shaming
yeah.
of the values of the
it's-
U.S.
I mean, if anything, there's kind of like a parallel, right? Because right now, again, this is the last like 2 or 3 years. I don't think I've ever noticed so many like white people, either really like feeling shame for being white, or the other ones just being pissed off that they're being told that they have to feel shame, right? Like I've never noticed this before, but I would say like the last 2-3 years, right? You can see people fall into those two groups a lot more, and like both of those aren't healthy, right? And a lot of it just comes from almost like this next evolution of like pushing racism on people. You know, like if you've ever been anywhere else in the country, one, they're way less politically correct when it comes to race issues, right? Like they'll just say whatever, and it's not offensive. It's not offensive, and like at least like in a lot of the other places I've been, they clearly know that you're a different race, and they can even treat you like you're a different race, but it doesn't mean they treat you like you're less in a lot of cases. Some places maybe, right? And you don't actually feel bad. But here, it's like, it's almost like we're like trying to, not everyone, but it's almost like we're trying to like compensate for something and like to go over the top to show that how you're not racist, which actually makes it feel worse, right? And I try to like put myself in like some of these like affirmative action. If I was told I could get in with like at a lesser standard, or I was like a quota that like you had, like we have to hit this quota, and like, you know, you're part of that group that needs to hit that quota, like I'd be pissed.
Because
You
you're
know?
not there based on the merit and your hard work.
Yeah, like,
you're
then,
there
like
based on
how do you
creed.
even know if like you actually earned it, right? Like if there's like a quota where we're in the NFL, right, you have to interview a minority. When they say minority, it's black coach, and never mind like if like this person just wasn't qualified. Well, we just need to find one black coach that we interview, so we did our due diligence, right? And they already had someone they want to hire anyways. Like, how does like that program actually help anything? But then when they implement it, right, media will praise them. Look at this, like, the NFL is being progressive. They're trying to help out. Like, there's no part of that actually helps. And like, if you're the person that's actually being given these special like treatment, like what kind of like what you were saying earlier, right? Like, I don't want to be told that I'm inherently at a disadvantage. Like, if I actually didn't learn it that way, hey, this is the history, right? And like, it can actually be an opportunity for you to feel more pride, want to take on a bigger responsibility to help and like be a trailblazer for the people that follow you, right? Like, why can't we like give that message? Instead, it's you're oppressed, white man's fault, and then stay a victim, right? And actually, it's like hurting, and to me, it's like so obvious. And just to tie it back to this, I don't even know, we're so far off topic. So when I was in the Air Force, right, you could see the personnel numbers swing. So one, we're overstaffed, right? So they were literally paying people money to get out of the Air Force. Then like a year or two later, we need more intel officers. They'll actually pay former intel officers to get back in the Air Force, right? And I actually know people that got paid to get out and they got paid to get back in again. It's ridiculous, right? And you see a lot of this stuff too. It swings, right? So one, the DA is being too harsh, right? So I think that was like Kamala Harris's like reputation. Like, she was too harsh, right? And then they're going to try to swing the other side.
She locked up a lot of black people, and she prevented people that were black that she knew were not guilty, just because it was not going to make her look good. So she worked to keep them in prison. She didn't give a fuck about
Tulsi Gabbard eliminated that nicely during the debate.
She nuked her in the debate over that.
Yeah, and then she got canceled, kind of.
Yeah, she basically...
she did not follow the rules.
Yeah.
Well, she canceled Kamala Harris because she got like nothing. I mean, she didn't even make a full % of people supporting her.
Yeah.
People don't like her.
Yeah, it's a crazy... Oh, I mean, this is completely like... But Kamala goes from so unlikable that they just like, we can't have this woman like be part of the Democratic like identity, right?
Apparently, Jill Biden.
Yeah, and then Joe Biden picks her.
Hates her.
And then it's like, she's so stylish. Like, I just want her haircut. And then like Madam Vice President, glass ceiling broken. And I'm just like I didn't even follow politics at the time. I remember like this lady was so unlikable that they dropped her. Mm-hmm. And just 8 months later, like, she was like a female inspirational hero, right? Like, it's like another just...
It's a media created
and it's amnesia
situation.
And
their new web.
It's like, you remember you were just doing this eight months ago? And it's like, they don't... It's like, yeah, whatever. We're like, they don't remember. Like, you literally just flipped your narrative.
We're a species with amnesia. It makes so much sense.
I remember when Kamala first came on the scene, Jennifer was like, I just love her. She's amazing. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
She drank the Kool-Aid.
She's a lefty. She's a communist.
I don't know who she is.
I don't care. I always label her that. I've known her 30 years, so I was like, whatever. Anyways, why don't we wrap this one up and we'll get on to the next one.
The last 2 bullet points, because that's what's left of the story. And it's from the article, I think Daily Mail, from what we said. Let me see. Yeah, from Daily Mail. About 98% of prosecutors participating in the vote supported Gascon's ousting after he declined an invitation to meet with them and defend his controversial policies. There were a record high 83% turnout in the more than 800-member union who voted.
Wow. That's... you fucked up when that happens.
I wonder what the 2% were doing.
They've been demoralized by the commie propaganda, so they don't care.
The last bullet point. This vote is by those who are intimately familiar with how Mr. Gascon's policies actually play out on a day-to-day basis, said ADDA President Michelle Hennessy. I think that's how you pronounce it.